Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to Chef Vic Cuisine. Today, we're making macaroons. Now this is an amazing French dessert that I'm going to teach you guys how to make from scratch. So, let's get started. Alright, so for the ingredients we have two sections. One for the cookie and then one for the buttercream filling. For the cookie, you're going to need 1 cup of powdered sugar, 1.5 cups of almond flour, 100 grams of egg whites, or about 3 large eggs at room temperature, 1/4 teaspoon of cream of tartar, 1/2 cup of granulated white sugar, 1 teaspoon of food coloring of your choice. I'm using red for this one. 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. And for the flavor of this macaroon, I'm choosing birthday cake, so you want to add 1 teaspoon of that extract to it. But feel free to use 1 teaspoon of whatever flavor you want these to turn out as. For the buttercream, you need 1/2 cup of granulated sugar, 3 tablespoons of water, 5 egg yolks, 1 cup of unsalted butter, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, and then 1 pinch of salt. So to get things started, we're going to work on making the cookie first. The key to making a classic macaroon is to ensure that the dry ingredients are well sifted. So what you want to do is sift the powdered sugar and almond flour into a large bowl and then whisk those together until they're well combined. And as you can see in my video, I'm sifting the powdered sugar and almond flour together just to help with that combination process. And while you're sifting, you always want to make sure you discard those large lumps of flour that don't make it past the mesh. So once you have all the powdered sugar and almond flour sifted together, what you want to do is go ahead and double back and sift that once again. This is definitely a way to make sure that your dry ingredients are really sifted. And once you're done double sifting, you just want to go ahead and set these dry ingredients aside. Don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, and hit the bell notification to be alerted on when my next video drops. And stay tuned until the end of this video for a sneak peek of the recipe coming next week. Next up, you want to add the egg whites into a separate large size bowl. And save the egg yolks for the buttercream that we're going to make later. So like I mentioned earlier in the video, it'll take about 3 large eggs to get enough egg whites for this recipe. And if you want to be precise, you can always use a scale to measure out your egg whites as well. But yeah, just make sure you get all of that egg white goodness out of each egg. And then once you have all the egg whites in the large bowl, you want to go ahead and whisk the egg whites with either an electric mixer or a stand mixer. I'm mixing on medium speed. And once the egg whites begin to foam, you want to add the 1/4 teaspoon of cream of tartar. You then want to turn the mixer to high speed after you add that. And then slowly add the granulated white sugar while the mixture whisks. We use cream of tartar to help stabilize the egg whites. This helps to increase the volume of the foam it creates, as well as keeping the egg whites bright and white. So now that you've added all your sugar and it's been allowed time to dissolve into the egg whites, you want to go ahead and add food coloring, the vanilla extract, and the birthday cake extract, or whatever extract you want the macaroons to end up tasting like, to the bowl, and then mix it well. As always, when working with food coloring, I'd recommend using powder-free nitrile gloves. They can definitely save you time when you're ready to clean up. So you want to continue to beat the egg whites on high speed until stiff peaks form in the cream. And you should be able to lift the cream with your whisk and have it not fall or move when you shake it. So this is the consistency of the batter that you're looking for. So now what you want to do is begin folding in a 1/3 portion at a time of the combined sifted almond flour and powdered sugar to your cream. So you want to fold it gently in a sweeping motion, scooping under the cream and then over the flour until all of that sifted flour and sugar is combined into the mixture. Definitely do this gently, as you don't want to break your cream and have it drop. And don't be fooled by the speed of my video. Right now it's at 4 times the speed, so I'm doing this very slowly and gently. Once the first portion is combined, you want to go ahead and fold in the other portions of the flour and the sugar gently into the cream, making sure that prior to the next addition of sifted flour and sugar, that the previous portion has been folded and incorporated well into the mixture. And just to give you all a more real feel of how I'm mixing this, here is the mixing process at regular speed. So while you're folding the mixture together, you always want to make sure you're scraping down the sides and underneath the bowl to make sure all the sifted flour and powdered sugar is incorporated. So the final mixture should look and flow like lava. So if I were to move the mixture to one side, you can see how it all flows together. And another trick to confirm that your mixture is ready for piping is to take some of the batter on your rubber spatula and then create a figure 8 pattern as the batter drips off. And if the figure 8 doesn't lose its shape while it's on the rest of the mixture, then you know your batter is ready for piping. So now you want to carefully scoop in the batter into a piping bag with a small round piping tip. And a word of advice with working with adding the batter to the piping bag, you always want to make sure you have a good grip on the piping bag, as this batter has some weight to it, and if you don't hold in the right way, it can start to pour out. So next up, you want to pipe about 1 to 1.5 inch size dollops of batter onto a baking sheet lined with parchment paper. And you can make the parchment paper stick to the pan by using small blobs of the batter between the pan and the paper on the corners. You also want to make sure that you place the dollops about 2 inches apart from one another, as when you bake them they do spread and rise. And depending on the size of the dollops you make, you're going to end up with about 18 to 24 macaroons. So I use 2 large baking sheets to place all the dollops I need for both sides of the macaroon. And another secret to making great macaroons is to tap the pan on a flat surface several times to release any hidden or visible air bubbles once you've placed all the dollops. You want to do that because once you bake them and there's still trapped air inside of the macaroon cookie, it'll cause it to rise, expand, and then break the macaroon, and you won't end up with that nice crisp edge that you're looking for. So a couple of hard taps onto a flat surface will do the trick for you. And then you just want to allow the dollops to sit for about 40 minutes at room temperature before placing them in the oven. This allows the surface of the macaroon to harden and give you that classic crunch when you bite into it. So after the 40 minutes of allowing the dollops to rest at room temperature, you want to bake these at 300 degrees Fahrenheit or about 149 degrees Celsius for 12 to 14 minutes. And part of the baking process is rotating the pan halfway through the baking time so that the front of the tray is now in the back of the oven. So after about the 12 to 14 minutes of it baking, you want to remove the pans from the oven and allow the macaroon shells to cool completely before removing them from the baking sheets. And while the shells are cooling, we can go ahead and start making our buttercream filling. So you want to go ahead and combine the sugar and the water into a medium-sized saucepan. You want to heat it over low heat while whisking it until the sugar dissolves. And then once it dissolves, you want to increase the heat to medium-high, or about 375 degrees Fahrenheit or 190 degrees Celsius, and bring it to a boil. This will end up creating a simple syrup. While the syrup is heating up, you want to put the egg yolks into a stand mixer fitted with a whisk attachment. And you should have 3 egg yolks from earlier, and then all you need is 2 more egg yolks for this recipe. And then you want to beat all the egg yolks together until they're thick and foamy. So now you should have both the egg yolks and the syrup mixing together. And once the sugar and water syrup reaches 240 degrees Fahrenheit or 115 degrees Celsius, which you can tell by using a candy thermometer, which I would really recommend at this stage, you want to immediately remove it from the heat. If you don't have a thermometer to read the temperature, you just want to look for that rapid boil as you see in the video. So you want to pour the hot syrup into the foamy egg yolk mixture, and then immediately after you add it, you want to go ahead and whisk it on high speed and continue mixing it until the bottom of the bowl is cool to the touch and the yolk mixture has cooled to room temperature. You want to make sure you start mixing the hot syrup and the egg yolks together quickly, otherwise you allow the heat of the syrup to cook the eggs, and you definitely don't want that. Once the bowl is about cool to the touch, you want to go ahead and start adding in the softened butter, half a tablespoon or a tablespoon at a time, allowing each piece of the butter to fully incorporate with the mixture before adding the next. And you can end up adding about 1 cup total worth of butter. Once all the butter has been incorporated into the mixture, you want to go ahead and add the vanilla extract and the salt. And in my case, I wanted to add a little bit more color to the buttercream, so I added some food coloring to it as well. And you just want to continue mixing until the buttercream is smooth and creamy. And this should take about 5 to 6 minutes. And so after about 5 to 6 minutes of mixing the buttercream together, you want to place the buttercream into a large piping bag with another small round piping tip. And so by this time, your macaroon shells should have completely reached room temperature, and you want to take half of the shells and flip them upside down so that the top surface is facing the baking sheet. Now, taking your piping bag with the buttercream filling, you want to add a small dollop of the buttercream onto the back of half the shells. And then you just want to form a sandwich with the plain macaroon shell, and then repeat that for the rest. And macaroons should be refrigerated for about 1 to 2 days for the best results. And this allows the filling inside of the macaroon to soften the inside of the macaroon shell. And just like that, you've made your very own macaroons. Whether you pronounce it macaron or macaroon, I guarantee you these turn out delicious. And if you ever want to feel fancy and create a light, airy dessert, give this macaroon recipe a try. And let me know down in the comments how you pronounce this recipe. Do you go with macaron or macaroon or something different? Let me know. As always, this recipe and many more can be found in my cookbook, Chef Vic Cuisine, Volume 1, Finding Your Inner Chef. And that's available on Amazon, and I'll be sure to leave a link to that in the description box. Thank you all for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, and hit that bell notification to be alerted when I post my next video. And stay tuned for next week, where I show you how to make my absolute favorite dessert, creme brulee. I'm very excited to share this recipe with you all. It's a lot easier than you think. Once again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week on another episode of Chef Vic Cuisine. And until then, peace.